If you get a traffic ticket, here's how to fight it. So basically, I'm going to give you some examples of what I've done. So I've calmed down a lot, matured, but I used to drive like a badass, I'll admit it. So back quite a few years ago, I was driving a company van. I was speeding. I got pulled over by this Toronto cop, and he just came up to the window without even telling me why he stopped me. He just came up to the window and said license, registration, and insurance. So I handed them to him. Well, I at least handed him my license anyways, and I asked him how come he stopped me. And then he got upset and exclaimed at me that I was doing 97 and a 60, that I passed a Toronto transit bus and a limo like they were standing still. Why would I even ask him that? So I gave him my license. It was a company vehicle I was driving, and there were multiple company vehicles at this particular company that I was doing deliveries for at the time. And we had some like folders that we would keep keep the proper paperwork for the vehicles, such as the insurance information and the ownership registration information. But a lot of the times people just grab the first folder they found without even checking to see if it went with the particular vehicle they were driving. So the folder for my vehicle was already gone. So I just grabbed another folder. That was the only folder that was sitting there. And I told the cop that, I told that particular officer that, listen, this is not, I know it's not the information for this particular vehicle, but my office is just about 1 kilometer down the street from here, because I was almost back at the office when he stopped me. I said to him, I can go back there and get the proper information for you and bring it back to you. He just abruptly snapped at me, I don't want to see it later, I want to see it now. So anyways, this particular cop, since I couldn't show him that information, he gave me a ticket for 97 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone. So in miles, that's approximately 60 miles in a 35 mile an hour zone. He gave me a it was about $267, I think, was that ticket, the speeding ticket. He gave me a ticket for approximately, I think it was $65 for not having my insurance papers with me. And it was about $105 or so for not having the vehicle ownership with me. So I took it to court and fought it. Like, I admire most police officers. I know that most police officers, most cops are out there doing a good job serving and protecting. And most of my encounters with the police, and I mean, I'm not a troublemaker or anything, but I've been pulled over by the police a few times for speeding and other traffic violations, but mostly speeding over the years. Most police officers that I've encountered, they're decent, pleasant people to deal with for the most part. But this particular cop that pulled me over, this particular cop was a pig. I don't know what the hell was up his ass that night. Don't know if he got in a fight with his wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, but he was obviously in the bad mood. So he gave me $437 worth of tickets that night. So I wrote down on the back of the ticket, not guilty, mailed it in, got a trial date to appear in court. Now, when I got to court, since I had the ownership and the insurance papers, they threw those 2 charges out. So I don't have to worry about paying for those 2 tickets. And as for the speeding ticket, I was going to ask to knock it down to 15 kilometers over the speed limit, like knock it down to 75 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone. So they didn't go for that, but they said we can knock it down to 20 over. In other words, 80 in a 60 zone. So they knocked it down to 80 in a 60 zone. They gave me 60 days to pay that speeding ticket. So I basically walked into court with $437 worth of tickets and walked out with only one $80 ticket. And I just represented myself. I didn't hire a lawyer or a paralegal representative or anything like that. I didn't hire any kind of legal representative. I just represented myself, and I managed to get $437 worth of tickets taken down to one $80 ticket. And that particular $80 ticket, it only resulted in me getting 3 demerit points. And in the province of Ontario, Canada, you don't get your license so long as you're not a probationary driver. Your license won't get suspended until you've accumulated 15 demerit points. So I only got 3 demerit points from this ticket. Now, there are ways they can suspend your license for less than 15 demerit points. They can suspend your license for as little as 9 demerit points, but at 15, then your license is definitely suspended. There was another time that I was driving a delivery van going through a residential neighborhood. Came up to this all-way stop. This one old man was at this all-way stop, at the stop sign. He must have fucking sat there for about 15 seconds. And I was in a real hurry. So I just leaned on my horn at him. And as I was proceeding through that stop sign, I yelled out the window and called the guy a fucking asshole. Because he just stopped way too long. Like, I think it's pretty much acceptable in Ontario. I think it's... What was I saying again? So anyways, yeah. As I was proceeding through the stop sign, I yelled to that guy, I called that guy a fucking asshole for stopping at the stop sign for so long. Because I remember being told in driver's ed school, 3 seconds is a good amount of time to stop at a stop sign for. The guy must have been stopped for at least 10, 15 seconds. So there was a cop sitting there. I didn't see that cop till it was too late. He came and nailed me. He said, I didn't appreciate you calling that guy a fucking asshole in front of those 3 kids that were sitting there. I didn't even notice the kids sitting there, but anyways, and he said, oh yeah, also you didn't stop for that stop sign. So I got a $78 ticket for the stop sign. I filled out the back of the ticket, wrote not guilty. I mailed it into the court to get a trial date set so that I could go to court and fight it. Anyways, when I got to court, I asked for something called a Section 11. Now, Section 11 is a section of the Canadian Charter of Rights that guarantees you the right to a fair and speedy trial. And at that point in time, a speedy trial in Canada was considered within 8 months after the charges were laid. Well, my court date came 9 months after I got that stop sign ticket. So I went to court. The cop initially asked me what I was going to do. I told him I was just going to plead guilty. And this cop said to me, "Oh yeah, well, that judge is not going to be very impressed." So I told him that you call that guy a fucking asshole in front of those 3 kids. So anyways, my turn came up in court, and I decided, instead of pleading not guilty, I decided to use Section 11. So I asked for Section 11, and that ticket got thrown out since it took more than 8 months to get to court. It took 9 months. Well, that cop pounded on the railing ahead of him and just went storming out of court. But anyways, since I was granted that Section 11, that ticket got thrown out. So I would suggest to anyone, if you get any kind of a traffic ticket, I would suggest to anyone who has the time to appear in court, or, I would just generally suggest to anyone that gets a traffic ticket, plead not guilty and take it to court and fight it. Because, like, for example, I had another time that I got a ticket for doing 83 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone, which is basically about 52 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone. So I pleaded not guilty. I took that to court. The cop didn't show up, so that ticket got thrown out. So I would suggest fighting all your tickets, take them to court. You never know what's going to happen. If the cop doesn't show up, your ticket will get thrown out, at least in the Canadian province of Ontario. That might be the case in other jurisdictions as well, too. I don't know. It's just worth it to fight it. And the thing is, if everyone fought their traffic tickets, that would basically tie up the court system. They wouldn't be able to handle the backlog, so that would increase your chances of your ticket getting thrown out. So that's what I personally did with my traffic tickets whenever I got them, and I would suggest you do the same thing as well too.